Duncan, just hold it right there.
Mr. Duncan is...
I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
Horror movies don't work with a walther.
We have obtained the Nashville Shooters Manifesto.
As we again make complete fools out of the assholes in the media, it's just so easy.
Joe Biden supports gender reassignment for children. Marx wouldn't be further to the left.
Trump is not part of the Republican Party.
We had Barack Obama.
They ran a poll.
Now, I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. That's why I'm married, clearly, to what is...
It's no secret.
A woman.
Everybody knows.
It's a valid question.
Valid.
Glad to be with you. And yes, that is correct. Dan Bongino and I will be crossing the streams this Thursday. I'll be on his show. He'll be on this show. So, you know, Dirty Guinea deserves an opportunity every now and then.
Oh,
and we have the ability. He's in our studio.
affectionately.
He is in our studio, so we have the ability to dump him whenever we want. But he's kind of a friend. All right. So, a lot to get to. I know it was a busy weekend for many of you, especially for a lot of you, you know, like out virtue signaling each other on Veterans Day.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. People are like, you know, man, you couldn't. I just said thank you. Sincerely, thank you. That's all I put out there. And people are like, you couldn't do more? I mean, these people have been out there killing terrorists.
Yeah.
What am I going to say other than thank you? So anyway, a lot to get to. Here's the Photoshop rundown so everyone can kind of see and follow along. Tim Scott is done.
Oh,
I know. I know. Another one who's gone too soon, but that's an expensive exit. How many millions of dollars raised?
2%.
We're going to have an Empire State of Crime segment. The vigilante, and many of you refer to him as a hero. Some refer to him as a vigilante. I refer to him as a hero. Has been arrested for firing a gun at a man who was assaulting a woman. There was a Las Vegas teen beaten to death, and the media is covering this. Well, they're either not covering it or they're just omitting the race of the perpetrator and the victim. Guess why? And then we are going to be doing, we haven't done this in a while. This is a thorough A to Z debunking of John Oliver, his segment on Israel and Hamas. I'm pretty sure you can guess where it goes.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm adjusting my headphones here. Number two, Gerald. Well, actually, first, let me ask you this. Considering how stopping a crime has cost so many good Samaritans to go to jails in liberal cities, and of course the jails are empty because actual criminals are on the street. Mm-hmm. If you saw a crime happening today, would you intervene? Would you try and be a good Samaritan? That's a cultural shift that I'm worried about in this country, where people say, you know what? Nah, it doesn't involve me. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So comment below. Gerald A., number two, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Neck thing gone?
It's not gone,
not
but
gone?
I'm working on it.
You are?
I'm working on it.
You working on in your mustache?
Yeah, I'm working on the mustache. I had the perfect Civil War thing going, like, you know, this deal where it's a beard above your beard, but the problem is I was trying to trim it and I cut a chunk out, so just my hair wouldn't look right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And in third chair, brings a smile to our face when you hear this. You know who it is. You love him. Ugh. Sunday, November 19th, he will be at the Bricktown Comedy Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can follow him, Josh_Firestine, for his other dates. Josh, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you could have done more. You could have done more.
I could have done more.
You could have sent me a cake, or you could have.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. No,
that was on the list.
This pen.
you could have
Two
just,
more thank yous.
could have just paid your taxes. That would have been sufficient.
This
Also,
mug.
I think we always do
15
that.
thank yous. Is that tough for you on Veterans Day because everyone is stepping over themselves? Like, thank you. Oh, no, thank you. No, I thank you. No, thank you. I'm grateful.
my favorite is when everybody changes their Facebook profile picture. To like their basic training or boot camp photo when a 45-year-old guy was 18.
Yes.
That's true.
Just randomly change it. Like, why did you? What you want me to thank you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much.
In Gerald's case, he changed his display picture to his dishonorable discharge papers. I didn't even know you could get those before you made it in.
That
I
didn't
know a
happen at
guy
all.
who does that. He got dishonorably discharged
Oh, no.
from the Marine Corps, and he does it on Veterans Day every year.
Seriously?
I have to respect him.
He didn't even make it out of boot camp. He got dishonorably discharged from boot camp.
Do we have to thank him for his service?
Okay, speaking of boot camp, it's time to quickly address this. This is all over the place. It's more boob camp,
Ooh.
as in breasts.
The segue.
So there's a podcast host, the guy named Adam22. I don't know if that's his real name. And
Adam was.
he has a wife,
Yeah, Adam was already taken.
Lena the Plug, which again, I'm not sure. I'm going by their studio, their Hollywood nomenclature. So, he's the guy who talked about, renting his wife out to other people. And now to really highlight this, in case you ever wondered as to, the decay of Western civilization, and you ever wanted to have the thought cross your mind of, maybe Hamas isn't all wrong. They're debuting
I think Islam is a
a
bigger.
new reality show to find a man for her to consummate with.
I'm Lena the Plug. I am an adult creator.
My name is Adam22, and I co-own Plug Talk with my lovely wife.
It's a low caliber, 22.
We do a different girl every week.
It's fitting.
Them at the end. But we've only ever done it with other women.
So we've arranged this whole challenge to find the perfect guy to be our first ever boy-girl threesome. It took us so long to get this approved on YouTube.
It's on YouTube?
On YouTube. Well, I guess that brings us to a new segment we'll be doing, age appropriate or not, douchebag edition. Yeah, we're not going to play the game. It'll
No.
just be him.
Yeah.
It'll just be Adam 32 ACP.
Adam, 22 times.
Yes. Lena the 380.
Adam, 22 guys fucked my wife.
Whoa! Hey!
Look, this is the thing. It's just
Sorry, guys.
this guy he's a digital pimp. He's a digital pimp.
Yes.
This is the problem with modern dating. It's like not everything needs to be a veritable meat market. No.
It's just disgusting.
Took me a second.
It's not.
And after the incident, he rewarded his wife with a $400,000 Lambo, is what they call it, because he was so proud of her. Okay, first off, don't call it a Lambo. Second, I don't know that that's a $400,000 car, but okay, let's go with it. Third, proud?
Yeah.
Proud of? I mean, if there could ever be
Honey, you took it like a
a
champ.
lesser accomplishment,
How brave of her.
a lesser accomplishment that I can think of would be being an attractive woman saying yes to sex with a random stranger. Like
Yeah,
that's the
right,
opposite of an accomplishment. The accomplishment is saying no because you just gave away the prize for free.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think she's doing most of the work in there.
No.
I think that she's the plug. but
Yes.
I don't think that's what she's doing.
I wouldn't even give her a participation trophy. I'd correct it with a big
people.
red marker. Lying whore.
Liar, whore, and you know it.
It's true.
you know, you
A
never
whole series on this?
They're doing a whole series where I'm
On
finding a
YouTube?
guy to sleep with my wife. And everyone's like, oh, this is great. And they always they'll tell you right inevitably like, oh, you're against us because you're jealous because you don't have a woman as hot. It's like, yeah,
What?
neither does Adam 22.
So the end is just sex.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically.
They have like an
Degeneracy.
open,
Spoiler.
degenerate relationship.
Yeah.
That's how I don't want to judge people. You know, it's funny to
I
make
do.
fun of,
Yeah,
sure,
a little bit.
but it's funny to make fun of. But I do want to point out that I've never met somebody in their 50s that was like, hey, this is my wife, Martha, and the guy she's been banging for 5 years.
Yes, exactly.
The guy I've been banging for 3.
Our marriage has never been better.
We're so happy.
Yes.
Help me.
We are so happy. Well, she's namely happy with other people, and I'm happy in the corner. But I find joy in living vicariously through others. That's why I give her a $400,000 Lambo every time she courts a black pornography actor.
That is insecurity at its finest.
I know. And he's like, I'm so secure that I'm letting her, I'm so secure. What? Are you so insecure you wouldn't let your wife have sex with as many strangers as she wants? Nope. I guess so. Yep.
You wouldn't even buy your wife a Lambo.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. She wants a RAV4.
That's true. Yeah. Also, I don't want to deal with repo men.
Yeah.
It's a lease.
Going to his accountant, like, can I get some kind of write-off as a gift with this? Depends. What was it for? Banging a porn star? I don't know if that's deductible.
I don't think so.
But I got news for you. Your wife's probably a whore.
We're proud of her, though.
Yeah. H&R Block. By the way, if we haven't done this yet, if you're watching right now and you're watching on YouTube, why are you doing that? Go to Rumble and subscribe over there.
Yeah.
You might see this, which means head on over to Rumble. Okay. We'll move on from that. You guys can comment below. Look, I guess we're just old sticks in the mud. Believing that you shouldn't sleep with random strangers if you're married. All right.
Old traditional.
Old me, Mr. Traditional.
They're not random strangers.
That's
They're going
true.
on a quest to find love.
Yes, exactly.
They have a whole show, Steven. It's on YouTube.
It makes Flavor Flav's reality show look like church.
Yeah, I want to watch that now.
At least he was trying to find love, even with his stupid clock and catchphrases.
He was never on time.
He's known for the clock.
Never
If I
on time
watched
for
like,
love.
yo, that guy's married.
Yeah, even Flavor Flav would be I can't say the word.
All right. Speaking of Flavor Flav, Tim Scott has dropped out of the presidential race,
I don't get the connection.
and that means it's time to close.
Former President Donald Trump still leading the polls by a large margin, while Scott polled just 2% among Republican voters.
Time to close. Endings and beginnings are ending and beginning now.
I thought he started off on the right foot on that issue. It is 100%.
No, not here. I'm sorry, sir. Do not boo. This is the view. We accept we don't have to believe everything people say, but you cannot boo people here, please.
How's everyone doing today? When I go back to Iowa, it will not be as a presidential candidate. I am suspending my campaign.
I know that it's time for things to close. I know that it's time for things to close.
Well, he'll end up in someone's cabinet.
No, he won't. No.
I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump picks him.
You think?
As a VP? Yes.
As a VP?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Comment below. I think it's possible.
Way too milquetoast. Come on.
I think he can't. Notice he hasn't attacked Tim Scott at all.
Yeah, but he doesn't see him as a threat.
Well, he went after Ben Carson. Don't you remember how hard Donald Trump went after Ben Carson?
ago.
Yeah, but still. But I mean, they're very similar. You know, they're soft-spoken
because they're black
Republicans. Well, that's a part of it. Yes. Yes, that is a part of it. It's like, remember, Ben Carson tried to stab his mother in the stomach, folks. Only was stopped by her belt buckle. Well, that's crazy. He's a psychopath.
Maybe he just says a little distracted.
Yeah.
This election.
I don't know. All right.
He's winning by too much? Is that
Let's move on to New York City is a cesspool.
Oh, great.
I have to say city because New York State is also a cesspool.
I was going to say, it doesn't get better.
The city is worse. And if you remember, I believe it was Sergeant Daniel Penny, you remember that situation in the subway, wasn't proof enough. This latest story shows that New York City is not a place for a good Samaritan. And, you know, like I've said, the left wants to turn violent criminals into a new voting base, and they want to turn you, the law-abiding citizen, into criminals. That brings us to the latest installment here of Empire State of Crime. So this happened last week, but he was just arraigned and arrested and arraigned. Arrested and arraigned? Yeah, arrested. You're arrested first, then arraigned. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened over this weekend, which is kind of an update to the story. For those of you who aren't familiar with what happened, this was last Monday. A guy named John Rote witnessed a woman being robbed. And these facts, by the way, are not in question. The woman being robbed actually commented in a way that is intensely disappointing, and I now believe John Rote should have just done nothing. This is at the 49th Street subway station. He saw it. 49th Street subway station, by the way, pretty crowded area. So this is some context that people may miss. There was a period of time, right? You're talking about Midtown, that area, that you wouldn't be able to find a crime. Police were basically responding to littering calls. So for this is almost like going back to the era of Jason Takes Manhattan. So he saw
pre-Giuliani.
Yes, he saw a woman being assaulted, and he fired a warning shot at the assailant.
43-year-old John Rote in handcuffs tonight, led away from the transit police station in the subway. Police say he is the man they've been looking for since yesterday, who allegedly tried to stop a mugging by firing a gun inside a train station. Police say a 49-year-old man known for swiping people into the subway and then demanding cash was also trying to mug a woman at the NRW station at 49th Street and 7th Avenue. That's when police say the so-called subway vigilante pulled out a gun and fired into the air. An action officials say was not only illegal, but incredibly dangerous.
You know what also is I don't know if you know this, what's incredibly dangerous.
What's that?
Mugging a woman.
What? Oh,
yeah, for her.
Not for the mugger.
No, not for the mugger.
I mean, unless somebody is standing by with a gun.
Yes, exactly. But she says it with such shock, like, fired a gun at a subway station. Someone was potentially being raped. Shouldn't that be kind of the shocker? The prestige?
Yeah, but he fired it into the air, they said. Like, hey, bang, straight up into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, he should have fired it right into the assailant's ass.
That's true.
It's dangerous. You could scare somebody masturbating.
Yes, exactly. Just a hobo stops pissing.
Yeah. Hey, whoa, you scared me, bud.
You can't. The pissing hobo is an endangered species.
Not in New York, it's not.
Yeah, man, it took me another 3 minutes to get it going. Had to get Flomax. It was awful.
You scared me. I peed all over 5 people.
You got some money?
Now he's got to get high again.
To pee?
So, look, and this brings some dynamics here at play, like we've talked about in the past. And it's just, this is not only New York, it's happening in large cities across the country. They want you all in large cities so they can control you and they can strip you of your First Amendment, Second Amendment rights. This guy tried to do the right thing. These kinds of incidents, they're not all that uncommon. We had a close call.
Yeah, we did.
Here at the office, actually, this weekend that was covered on local news.
Tell us how you saved the day.
Well, you know, there's a lot of badness in the world, and you really just, sometimes, you need to step up and protect what is yours and defend it.
I have word that we have security footage of the incident. We'd love for you to walk us through it.
That's not really necessary. You don't need to do that.
It'll be great. We have it right here. Tom, cue it up.
Please don't.
So it seems you have nothing to do with the thwarted robbery whatsoever.
Well, what you didn't hear on that tape was that robber made an anti-Semitic remark, and my people have been oppressed for over 5...
All right, so here's, at the very least, some responses that are odd.
Yeah.
Like, I do want to, and you can comment below, I want to live in a society where I read more headlines about men, or women, frankly, shooting would-be assailants in the subway, as opposed to stories about rape or rising violent crime. I mean, you do have to pick one, right? That's pretty clear. I mean, I believe it was even Anna Kasparian was on with Patrick Bet-David talking about the crime in California, what a horrible job Gavin Newsom has done. Once you grow up and you reach a certain point, you go, okay, I get it, the prison industrial complex, but it turns out if we just release violent felons, we are all the victims of more violent crime. So you would think that there would at least be split opinion from New York City officials, but that's not the case. The New York City subway president, Richard Davey, thought what John wrote. Some people call him vigilante, some people call him a hero. I call him a hero, okay?
Hero, yeah.
This is a subway president. He said that it was weird.
He sort of looks very calm, pulls out a gun, fires 2 shots, calmly puts the gun back in a bag and walks away. I mean, it is weird. But the point is, you know, that's not what we
How
need
strange.
from anybody in the system.
Strange things are happening to me. I get raped on the subway.
Thanks, Randy Newman.
Strange rape.
Strange.
You got a victim in me. It seems like I got the HIV because you were busy raping me. Strange
How
things.
Weird.
I think this headline from Bloomberg is weird. It says, New York subways have less crime but more violence.
What? How is that
Violence isn't crime.
Yeah.
Did somebody fact check this?
I mean, they mean lower overall crime because you don't actually cite, but more violence.
There's always less crime when you're not arresting people for crimes.
Exactly.
Because you didn't get the stats.
But what's surprising is that there's more violence, and they're also not arresting people for violence.
Well, the ambulance comes.
Yes, exactly. Eventually. Eric Adams, you know him, Brown Turtle. He thinks that this looks, meaning the man actually doing something. And I say this because you need to understand no one is coming to save you if you are in New York. It is going to get worse, and the people in power are going to ensure that it gets worse. You, the law-abiding citizen, they are desperate to frame you as a criminal, and they are desperate to show empathy for the criminal so they can gain some votes, so they can gain, and Uncle Sam's none the wiser. So Eric Adams thinks that this could look too much like one of my favorite films, Death Wish.
This is not a Charles Bronson area, with Death Wish. Let the police do their job. Don't think that you can do that job without the proper training that comes from law enforcement.
Hey, you black turtle punk. Is there any way to treat a hero of the subway? Hey.
Well, you heard his new policy, Eric Adams' new policy in New York. See something, do nothing. Say nothing. Move on, ignore it.
Keep walking.
I think that new policy is see something, get raped. So as for the would-be victim, John wrote, protected because no good deed goes unpunished by the subway president, the mayor, and even the person you are protecting. She wishes that he didn't use a gun. This is a quote where she says, yes, I do think he is a hero, but I don't know. I would likely think him a bigger hero if he tried to help me without a gun. Hey, did you see John wrote? Did you see the man? Without a gun, he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell.
Hold on, pull that quote
Smart
back
guy.
up. Hold on. We didn't read the best part. In my eyes, this is the continuation. In my eyes, the gun is a little extreme. It was a very dangerous situation. Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
That's the point, lady. What is you? No, excuse me, mugger, stay right here. Don't you fire that gun into the ceiling. You continue what you were doing and rob me. This is too dangerous.
He just walks up, the mugger slaps him. She's like, oh, you're going to penetrate me now, aren't you?
Anything could have happened. Yes.
Everyone in New York's all mad because we're messing with their culture.
I know.
How dare you stop a mugging? This is New York City.
Yes. You get what you deserve.
Yep.
I'm sorry. At this point, you get what you deserve.
Well, let me give you some stats here as far as New Yorkers and the subway. January to August of 2023, burglaries in the subway are up 150%.
Not bad.
Ridership overall is only 70% of the pre-pandemic levels, which means people must really hate it because it's impossible to get around that city without using the subway.
Wait a minute. The numbers up in ridership is down.
Yeah. The crime is up and ridership is down. Yeah.
Fewer people to commit the crimes.
And only 15% of New Yorkers feel very safe riding the subway.
Yeah, who are the 15%?
That's a lower percentage than of Muslims globally who believe that violence is justified against non-Muslims.
That's true.
You know who that 15% is the people that are making the crimes.
Yeah.
No, that's the 15%.
I feel safe.
Yeah. They don't ride the subway. They're like, oh, I've heard of it.
New York City, the assaults are up 60% over the last 13 years. Look, here's where we are. New York, their subway, it's dangerous, and officials want to make sure that you don't get any ideas about protecting yourself. So they want to ensure that you remain completely, exposed. Let's be honest. Hey, you need Big Brother to come in and help you if you're not able to protect yourself. And this is the funny thing, is people are obviously they're armed to the teeth in rural areas, and the argument that the left always makes is, well, you think in the city that'd be a real problem. No, in the city it's a real problem that you're not allowed to protect yourself. You don't need to protect yourself against two-legged predators so much when you're out in the middle of nowhere, when you're out in your own farm. You need to protect yourself from wild animals. Out here you need some good snake shot here in Texas. These are the conditions right now, what you are seeing in New York City. That's where you get a Bernie gets. If you look at what happened with Dirty Harry, Death Wish, that was a response to the soft on crime policies where Americans felt helpless.
Yeah.
That's what happened in the 70s and the 80s where the vigilante film was born. You are going to see that. You are going to see more vigilantes. This guy is not a vigilante.
No.
This is a guy who stopped something. He stopped an act that was taking place. What I mean is you are going to have more people seeking out criminals to shoot. Those kinds of vigilantes. I guarantee it. You can call me on it.
Especially in the big cities where they're not doing their job in the first place, right? We've talked about the recidivism rates. We've talked about how there's a turnstile, like 500, I think either robberies or crimes were committed by like 4 guys or something like that. Or they were arrested 500 times, I think.
Yes.
Just a really small group of people. But we do also, I don't know if this is going to be funny or not. We'll see the picture of the assailant.
Asshole!
Looks like a nice feller.
Looks like an ad for meth.
Classic.
Those are deep set wrinkles.
Got too much time on your hands.
He's got sensitive ears. You can't fire that gun in a subway at him. Come on.
Yeah, he's 26.
Yeah.
That guy's 26?
It's Adam 26, yeah.
And you know what? It's 22.
Hey,
oh, 26.
He was just trying to give you that sex with his wife.
Yeah, just my wife. We were trying to do some stuff.
I was mistaking her for my wife.
Yeah.
And so I started treating her like a bag of crap because that's what I do with my wife.
It was an audition.
You know, what we call a cattle call. And this is the problem with feminism. Yes, I said it. The woman was being assaulted, and she's more upset that he used a gun. And those are the people who are determining the policies in your city. That is the problem. There's no logic to that. It's, well, I just wish he didn't use a gun. Oh, because you think guns are mean and scary?
I'd prefer you just say thank you and go on your way.
I'm curious to know what side she's on in the Hamas story.
Yeah, I've one guess.
Oh, I would have preferred he didn't use a gun, but glad Hamas did.
You know, I'm sorry. Like, they shouldn't have kidnapped people, but do you have to kill so many of them? Well, apparently not enough yet. So, violence is amoral. You've heard me say this many times. Violence is amoral. I can use a gun to rape a woman, or I can use a gun to stop a rape
and get arrested.
Yeah, I can. Same thing with money. I can use money to go purchase fentanyl, or I can use money to fund a homeless shelter. And that's assuming that you believe homeless shelters are actually doing anything good, because most of the money gets funneled to the people who run it, and they drive Mercedes to and from. But they do it at the back door, so you don't see it. That's been this week's New York State of Crime. Sorry, Empire State of Crime. Now, I warn you with this next story. We always tell you this is a PG-13 plus, but it is disturbing. We're not going to be showing you any videos of people dying, just to be clear. But the subject matter is disturbing, and it ties into the idea of criminals not being treated as the criminals they are. You see it with Hamas. You saw it with the manifesto. By the way, thank you so much to everyone who supported the work last week, the Nashville Manifesto. You are the reason it was the #1 story of the week. I mean, it could be one of the biggest reveals, honestly, this year. I'm not taking credit. These are the people who work here in our undercover unit. If you want more like that, please do consider joining lightofcredit.com/mugclub, and you get twice the show every day. Friday show, Alex Jones, Nick DiPaolo every day. You get the Hodge twins, you get Brian Callen, Guns and Gear, but you also fund the undercover journalism and the tip lines that we have. We have some lines out there right now that are, we have to do our due diligence. We aim once, we aim right, but we'll shock you. And this is the overall point. You see that with the subway shooter there. You see it, with the vigilante hero, the attacker. You get the point. Now we get to this story in Las Vegas. The left will cover crimes very differently, simply depending on the assailant. It has to fit in with a narrative, or it gets ignored, like you saw with the Nashville Manifesto. That was memory hold really, really quickly. Yep. Or it gets misrepresented. So this just happened in Las Vegas late last week. A white teenager, Jonathan Lewis, was beaten to death by 15 black students. And I say that because it matters, and because if you were watching this on any of the mainstream outlets, or even your local news that, by the way, is run by 3 major corporations, you wouldn't know this. White teenager Jonathan Lewis beaten to death by 15 black students at a Las Vegas high school.
A teen severely beaten by more than a dozen students has died in the hospital after several days on life support.
Now, again, to provide some context here so people don't just say, well, okay, what was he doing? Could he be a white supremacist? Let me read you a quick, this is from News 18 local news. November 1st, over 15 juveniles brutally attacked 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis near Rancho High School after he sought to defend a younger friend who had been robbed by the group. This group already committed a crime, robbed a younger friend, and he went to them saying, hey, can you give it back? Can you give it back? At which point, the group of entirely black teenagers, 15 of them, beat him to death. Here's a video. Again, I warn you, you're not seeing anything super graphic, but just the idea of it should disturb your soul. Here's a video of the beating taking place partially. That's enough. You guys can find most of it on there. And again, what matters with this, people say, well, how do you know that's true when you talk about Israel-Hamas? Well, we're using the Hamas videos, right? They want you to circulate them. They're proud of killing innocent people.
Yeah.
These videos are these are not being taken by people who are trying to stop an attack.
No.
These are being taken by people who are hoping to get social media clout. They want this video out there. Teenagers, these bullies now, they want to gain notoriety, just to be clear. Now here is the media's coverage of the story. See if you can spot what's omitted.
Metro says about 15 kids were involved in a fight that has left one student hospitalized with critical injuries.
A teenager is fighting for his life after being beaten by 15 other kids near Rancho High School.
Metro officers responding to reports of a student fight across the street from Rancho High School. The investigation revealing the victim got into a physical altercation with 15 people before cops arrived.
Now from the family of Jonathan Lewis, a Rancho High School student who has died after a severe attack by 15 other students last week near the school.
And what really bothers me is that female reporter saying a physical altercation. No. An innocent man was beaten to death.
Yeah.
A couple of them said fight.
Yeah. That's not a fight. He was beaten to death. He was beaten to death by jackals who felt enabled to do so because they would get off consequence-free. At worst, have to go to a high school guidance counselor and tell them about how they were never hugged enough. Let me read you some media headlines here. Las Vegas teen beaten to death by mob of attackers outside of high school. Teen beaten near high school has died from injuries, father says. Vegas teen beaten to death by mob of 15 bullies outside high school after standing up for smaller friend. Nowhere is race mentioned in these stories. Imagine if we were, and this isn't just whataboutism, imagine if you had the inverse.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was 15 white guys who beat up one black kid. I don't know that you can find that at a school in the United States in the last 15 years. I really don't. I genuinely don't. And there are many, many stories to this effect.
Yeah.
And this is not, to be clear, not pulling a Nick Cannon and saying it's because of the melanin in your skin. It is because not only of a culture, but and I don't just mean the culture, hip-hop culture, what a lot of young black boys who are often fatherless look up to as an example, but because of white culture, of saying we need to stand down and check our privilege, where we tolerate behavior that would be tolerated nowhere else. Nowhere else would people run interference for this. And we'll get to the overall crime stats that show this is a common occurrence right now in the United States, particularly in schools.
Yeah. Well, and it's the glorification of this kind of behavior and no accountability for anybody involved that really is the problem. Like you said, they want this out there. They want to take video of this and say, look, see how cool we are. These people need to be going to jail.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you just killed somebody.
They need to be tried as adults.
Yes. Yeah. There was video there that we're not going to get too far into that because we don't want to show everybody, but stomping on somebody's head against the pavement as 4, 5, 6 other people just in that 1 second are also kicking, and others waiting to come into the wings to see if they can jump in on the act.
Sounds
what
like
are we doing here?
Yeah, it does sound like intent.
What kind of people are we raising in society, and what kind of accountability is culture? Whether it's black culture, white culture, American, whatever, what kind of accountability are we saying is appropriate here? Because the media just went out there and said, oh, this was a tussle. No. A guy got jumped because he was trying to defend his
There was a little bit of a dust-up between Lyle.
Skirmish.
Between Lyle and Chris.
A group of jackals decided to kill another person. Maybe that's a little closer. I don't know. Maybe workshop it, see if you can come up with something. But something a little bit more along those lines would be more accurate.
These kinds of activities, for example, the knockout game, they used to only take place with gang initiations, which were incredibly rare for the worst of the worst among society. Now these are just mainstream games like they're memes, like planking. Yeah. But hit the like button right now. It helps with the algorithm. But if you automatically assume the race of the perpetrator when it's never mentioned, if you read a story like this and you see no mention of the race, don't you make some assumptions now? Let's be honest. That's the problem. That's the rebound effect. You are creating a generation of people who are going to be more racist, or at the very least more suspicious. When you raise an entire generation of people who feel guilty for something they cannot control, checking their privilege. Look, sometimes we get guff. People go, Crowder's a cuck. He said he's not proud to be white. I'm not. Just like I'm not ashamed to be white. I have no control over it whatsoever. It's something that doesn't really matter to me. I never sit there and go, oh man, look at my white skin. I'm really proud of the fact that I have white skin.
I've done that.
But I'm not going to look at it and say, oh my gosh, I need to go to the soup kitchen for extra hours because I need to check my privilege. It could not be less relevant. This is not the first time this has happened. Let me read you some other crimes where the race was omitted when the perp was black. Right here you have one. You have Ethan Liming suffered broken skull bone in brawl outside LeBron James's I Promise school. The perps were 3 black men.
Oh, whoops.
Oof.
I guess LeBron James isn't as great of a professor as we had hoped for.
Yeah.
Basketball.
Celebrity schools, LeBron James school.
Whatever.
Barry Manilow had one. All right. It was a school for the closeted homosexuals. All right.
Really?
Yeah, the jawless closeted homosexuals. I'm just saying, all celebrities have these weird schools now. Here's another one. Teen girl allegedly slugs Asian woman, attacks witness in possible hate crime on NYC subway. Okay, the perp was, of course, a black teen girl, and she didn't allegedly slug an Asian woman. She did, and then she attacked a witness. Here's another one. Woman spits on subway rider in suspected anti-Asian hate crime in Park Slope. Hey, guess what? The perp, of course, in this instance, was a black woman. This has been happening across the country, really, since we've had the soft on crime. What?
Oh,
I don't know why he's
back.
Why are you here? Why do we have Mel Gibson head?
And if you get raped by a pack of niggers, it'll be your fault.
Hey, whoa.
Whoa, Mel.
That's the overreaction that we're talking about. The pendulum swings too far the other way. And then you end up with Mel Gibson head.
You do end up with Mel Gibson head. Really quickly, they listed the Asian person in the last 2 examples and didn't list the perpetrator.
Exactly.
Because they were pushing this
Stop Asian hate.
Asian hate thing, right? Yeah. Where they're trying to say, like, hey, Asian community, we're standing with you, unless, of course, you're trying to get into Harvard. We're not really standing with you so much. And make it seem like white people were the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it possible that we can live in a country where you can't just call it out across the board? We covered this with the Nashville thing. They called it out immediately when it was anti-black crimes, right? When somebody's shooting up a store because they're racist. And I understand that. Do it. But when it's the other way around...
Remember when we were live, Fort Worth, the shooting?
Yeah.
It was like catnip, and then it was turns out it was a black kid,
Boom.
and he just came in, and he was a bully, and we didn't really have that. And they were like, you don't know anything about this.
They're like, we'll give you more information later. By the way, back to Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yes, back to Donald Trump, who's orange, said Eminem. Oh, what a cipher.
Yeah.
Orange porridge.
Yeah.
Waukesha, it's an SUV. It's not even a person.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. It's not even... They don't even list the color of the SUV.
Right.
They don't always miss the race, though.
No, they don't always list.
They don't always
Here's the thing: if they never listed the race ever, fine. But they do it all the time.
They do it when it's a white perpetrator.
Yes, exactly. Right here. Let's read. These are from People, NPR,
Spoiler.
and AP. White teen allegedly tried to drown black child in racially charged attack. 3 white men are found guilty of murder in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. White man will stand trial for shooting black teen Ralph Yarl, who went to wrong house, judge rules. But now we have some examples of the selective, I don't even want to say selective, but just lies. You're just dishonest. The way, when someone crafts a headline deliberately omitting information to mislead you, it's a lie. And here's how we confirm that it's a lie. Let's look at some of the crime statistics, the FBI 2022 violent crime stats. Black Americans make up 13.6% of the population and 43% of the violent crimes. The victims of violent crimes, 57% of them are white. In San Francisco, and it's really hard because if you actually look at the FBI, the DOJ, the CDC, at one point in time, they stopped recording. Once they realized that politically it was tough for them, they stopped recording the racial gap between crimes. So you could find out the perpetrator of a crime, the race of the perpetrator, and you could find out, in some instances, the race of the victim of a crime, but you couldn't find out if the racial makeup of the perpetrator was different from the victim. So you couldn't find out who committed which crime to see who was the victim at the hands of which race. We used to have those stats. I believe it was 2014, 2016 when they stopped recording them. So I acknowledge that because this one comes from a small sample size where they did conduct this study. In San Francisco, 85% of all assault crimes in the Bay Area were black against Asian. 85% of all assault crimes were black against Asian. Small sample size, but that's because nationally your government looking out for you doesn't let you know who commits crimes and who the victims are. But you can make an inference, right? If 57% of the victims are white and 43% of the perpetrators are black, who only make up 12% of the population, hey, you saw Crash, though, so you don't want to be racist. You don't want to be racist if you're, let's say, in New York City. where a violent offender who is statistically more likely to be black committing a crime against an Asian person or a white person, you don't want to be racist, so you should walk right in as a completely helpless victim because you can't defend yourself with a firearm. Then you'll be excoriated by the mayor, by the New York City subway president, and potentially white women around you if you do anything.
Yeah.
You are now less safe. But the good news is cash bail and recidivism is up exponentially.
No cash bail.
Do you feel
don't even have to have it.
Oh, sorry. I said,
You said
cash bail.
Doesn't
Cash,
have
I
to
mean,
have
no
it.
cash
Yeah,
bail.
no cash.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You don't need any cash. It's just, I want to go.
Do you have anything to put down? No.
No, I do not.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah,
Fantastic.
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So let me just do I understand this correctly? Me as a white man, right, and blonde hair, blue eyed, I'm not
very
screwed
white
in
man.
a lot of ways. If I see a black man committing a crime, I need to kind of like in the old days. Is there a doctor in the house? I have to go. Is there a black man willing to step in and stop this? But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's racist.
I wouldn't say that because the black guy's going to think that you're being a smartass and beat you harder.
Oh,
Yeah. Especially if you do it in that Dave
you see, I
Chappelle
didn't
white
think
guy
that.
voice.
Yeah.
Is there a black man who's willing to help me? Is this motherfucker getting smart with me? Beat him harder.
No, man.
Beat his white ass.
Brother, I said, is there a black man in the house that can help me?
Oh, my Lord.
now-
I don't even have a gun. I'm going to go
I know,
find
yeah.
that shit just so I
can't
can
even
use it on
see
you.
That's a flogging.
And I will say this. I've talked about this on the show. We do black and white and the gray issues where I just talk with... You'd be surprised as to how much you have in common, but that's usually in areas where there's a mix of white and black people and they've learned to live together. When you have people who silo themselves into a culture that they view as exclusively black culture and they other white people, that's where you end up with gangs of 15. 15 beating a white boy to death.
Laughing.
Think about that. 15 black kids. Not one of them had a conscience. This is not normal. You will say violence has gone on in this country for decades, sure, but that type of collective just assault with a total lack of humanity is not something that has historically existed in this country. This was not the norm. If you want to say, hey, school shootings are up or mass shootings are up, when statistically that's not necessarily true, these kinds of interracial gang assaults are up. People know it. People see it. They're living it. And you want them to not believe their lying eyes and ears. And it always depends on if the criminal is convenient. That's what you saw with Nashville. That's why we released the manifesto that we had. And that's why if you want to see more of that, look, I'm biased. I try and be very straightforward, but we're not going to lie to you. All the references are available. And if you want to join Mug Club, you know where to go, louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. Okay, we're going to continue. Do you have something you want to...
Yeah, well, I just wanted to thank our sponsor, Walther, right? So you've said this many times. You know, if you're going to go out there and you're going to buy a firearm, and look, if this guy had a firearm, maybe he could have defended himself, but just try the
Well, then it's a kid at
right?
school.
Well, no. He was across the street from school, and maybe if there was a parent that could
Maybe if there was a parent with a firearm.
Just
Yeah.
saying, hey, you know, maybe don't beat this kid to
By the
death.
way, they're a sponsor. They've been a sponsor for the show for a very long time. Yes. They have the balls to sponsor the show. Just here's what it is. Go to waltherarms.com and find a dealer near you. Often gun ranges will let you try the firearm. I'm not going to trash it. There are plenty of good guns out there. Yeah. At a certain point, it's like, do you like BMW? Do you like Mercedes? Do you like Tesla? I don't know. Someone's going to crap all over that. But if you type in a review, Walther, PDP is our new gun review. Walther, PPQ review. Just type it in. You will see that everyone says, yeah, this is the best kept secret in the gun industry because they don't have massive advertising campaigns. Try the Walther, guarantee you'll buy it. That's it. They're cool, they're fun, they're deadly, they sell themselves.
I love it.
All right.
I like it.
It's like blasting caps. Now, Sunday night, I don't know, blasting caps. John Oliver, you a big fan, John?
I think he's funny.
Yeah, you can be funny.
He can be. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
He doesn't stick the landing always.
He's a cheeky bastard.
He is. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I do think he's funny. He's also wrong. So
A lot.
You can be both.
yes, you can be funny
I'm
and
often
you can
both.
be wrong. Sunday night, John Oliver, and we haven't done one of these rebuttals point by point in a while, but every now and then you get someone who volunteers as tribute to just encapsulate all of the moronic asshole arguments that you've heard across the webosphere, where you're like, oh, okay. He basically went to his writers that day and said, hey, how can I give Louder with Crowder a layup? He decided to take on the Israel-Hamas conflict, imploring his audience off the bat to see the humanity on both sides, which is nice.
I know that for many Israelis, there is an understandable sense of fear and precarity right now amid the spectre of Hamas attacks and rockets flying overhead. But it's worth also acknowledging the overwhelming sense of precarity among Palestinians living under a blockade and a barrage of Israeli rockets. And it has to be possible to feel the pain in one community without denying it in another. It Has to be. That is perhaps the most necessary precondition for peace, because real peace here will clearly be difficult. It's going to be struggled toward as part of a larger pursuit of justice, which will in turn require an honest and uncomfortable reckoning with all the decisions that brought us to this point. And I know that hope is scarce right now.
All right, yeah, Gerald.
I'm sorry, he left one thing out when he's saying they have a problem with the rockets being fired at them from Israel. What about the Hamas murders of their own citizens and keeping them from running and fleeing south, as Israel said? You just need to make sure that you include in their precarity, as you said, the fact that their own people that they elected are killing them as well. Don't blame Israel for all of it.
Yeah. That's a good point. And to be fair, look, and I want to, full transparency here, he does try and lead us by saying that, hey, Hamas doesn't represent all the Palestinians, so we need to differentiate. And he says that, just like Netanyahu doesn't represent all Israelis. Right. That part is true, and he kind of starts it off trying to both sides it. But often when you see that, it means, I'm about to lie. Because if you look at his time spent in his segment, we timed it out, criticizing Israel, about 20 minutes. Time criticizing not just we're not talking about Palestine, but Hamas, 6 minutes. So at the very least, you were going to say, you were to say time criticizing the Palestinian people who are not Hamas. All right, that's very low. And then the time criticizing Israel, and then the time criticizing actual Hamas should be highest. No, criticizing all of Israel, 20 minutes. Hamas, 6 minutes. They weren't even-handed. Pause this right now, and I want you to comment. What predictions do you have for the claims that Oliver is going to make? If you're not watching this live, if you're listening on audio, just hit pause, don't cheat, because we're about to go through them. And whatever it is you're thinking in your mind, probably, yes, you called it.
Spoiler.
All right. So let's go to, we'll do a claim truth format. A claim from John Oliver that Hamas does not represent the people of Gaza.
This senior Hamas official, Ghazi Hamad, recently doubled down on the massacre of October 7th by saying, we must teach Israel a lesson, and we will do it twice and 3 times. And for many commentators, all the citizens of Gaza are implicated in that sort of rhetoric, thanks to one key fact that you hear all the time.
Is it twice, 3 times? Does he mean 2.3? Does he mean 5 times? Like 2 plus 3?
I really don't know.
Twice, 3 times? 2 times, 3 times 6. A terrorist? I don't know. Here's the truth. They don't represent all Palestinians, but Hamas represents a lot of Palestinians. In January 2006, Hamas won 74 out of 132 seats. The Middle East Quartet called these free, fair, and secure elections.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, I know. Well, no. Those were free and fair. Ours are the freest and fairest.
Because we're better.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Because, we're not better. We don't be ethnocentric, but we're doing okay.
Freest?
We're doing all right.
We're more advanced.
July 2023. Relatively recent, 57% of Gazans viewed Hamas favorably. October 7th, 2023. Here we also see it's not just Hamas that we're discussing. So you can say that they don't represent all of the Palestinian people, but you have not seen an election with 57% of the vote in this country in decades. And then you also look at this footage where you see Gazan civilians, non-soldiers, not Hamas, gleefully participating in terror attacks against Israeli people. Why is he beeping?
I keeps hitting the wrong button.
Move, fence, move!
Oh, yeah, they all look like soldiers. These are hostages seen in pickup trucks being driven through Gaza. I don't see a lot of civilian protesters demanding humanity.
Just stealing their stuff.
So again, it doesn't represent every single person who lives in Palestine, but it represents enough.
Yeah. By the way, when's the last time they had an election in Gaza? Oh yeah, that's right. 2006, when Hamas came to power. They just kind of kept it. Yeah. They're the dictators. The world hasn't called them that, though. They just
either way, you need to get them out of power.
Yeah.
But the people, if anything, if you want to help the people of Gaza, if you're saying they don't represent the people of Gaza, then you should want Hamas to be obliterated.
Yep.
You only did a fair election once.
That's true. Yes.
Said Vladimir Putin.
Right. The sequel's never as good.
No, you got to just one and done.
Like, what is this? The Leprechaun franchise? Remember when you're doing elections in space? It's elections in the hood.
His name is Ghazi Hamad. It's basically Gaza Hamas.
I know.
Like, no one else is noticing that. Like, his name is Gaza Hamas.
Well, the next election, he'll change it to Lil Ghazi. So here's another claim.
I want to hear that mixtape, though. I do.
Cousin Little Ben guy.
It'll be fire.
It'll all be about killing Jews. Let's be honest. That is going to be the hook for him. He has a one-track mind. That
Featuring
Ghazi.
Kanye.
Yes. Here's another claim that he makes. Claim number 2 from John Oliver, that Hamas was actually moderate when they were elected. And we need to split this clip into 2. Remember, Toolman. All right, let's watch this.
Hamas went out of its way to present itself as more moderate back then. In fact, here is that same Hamas official who recently justified the October 7th attacks, shortly before that 2006 election.
We are a moderate organization. Really, we are not radical organization, and we are not extremist or fundamentalist. No, we are an open-minded organization, believe in democracy and the freedom and political pluralization.
Yeah, Hamas really tried to rebrand itself.
Now, look, I get that, but here's the truth, okay? Even though he tries to say, see, that same guy who he represents, you just said that they lie about everything. They can't be trusted as it relates to anything, period. That's the same guy who said that Hamas would repeat the October 7th attacks. In case you missed it, this was like 45 seconds ago.
This senior Hamas official, Ghazi Hamad, recently doubled down on the massacre of October 7th by saying, we must teach Israel a lesson, and we will do it twice and 3 times.
Remember we made that? I had the whole quip about, is it 2 times, is it 5 times? Yeah, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. And I know he acknowledges that it's the same guy.
John, what are you doing?
He's acting like he's trying to cut it off at the pass, but that's the guy. When the guy is the liar. So let's play the rest of his clip, because then he tries to say, well, yeah, but that's now, but they initially actually presented themselves as moderate, which of course is not true, but let's hear him make the argument.
Well, that was.
He played the whole thing.
Did I play the whole thing? All right, okay.
Was that the whole thing?
I don't know. Maybe it is the whole thing. Okay.
That way we split it and run through.
All right, then here's the truth. Well, split would mean there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, no, or 3, depending on if
all right, fine.
Hasmati, Gazmati, whatever his name is.
Hamas has clearly always been radical. You know how John Oliver just showed you that he was lying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's not that hard to fact check that the guy's lying. Because in the 1988 founding charter from Hamas, it says, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it. Just as it obliterated others before it. The movement is but one squadron that should be supported by more and more squadrons from this vast Arab and Islamic world until the enemy is vanquished and Allah's victory is realized. That was their founding charter. You have the guy who he quotes as having been moderate, saying they're going to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. Let's give you some more examples. All references available at louderwithcrowder.com. I wish I didn't have to do this, but apparently I do. 2005, the Hamas spokesperson, Mushir al-Masli, I want to make sure I get that right, but let me get it a little bit wrong so it pisses him off. This was him prior to the Gazan election, saying, We have come here in multitudes to proclaim that Hirbia and Ashkelon will be taken by the Mujahideen. We have come here to say that the weapons of the resistance that you will see here remain, Allah willing, so that we can liberate Palestine, all of Palestine, from sea to the river, whether they like it or not. That is exactly what they say right there. I don't know what.
Seriously.
I just read it. I just read the thing.
You should just smile and blow me!
That's...
Because I deserve it!
Get him out of here. He's having a rough day.
That last part is really interesting, from the river to the sea.
Because that's what the protest...
No, but hold on. This is a benign chant. It's a benign chant, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be... It's just protesters who are just making sure that the humanitarian situation's addressed.
Does it rhyme in Arabic?
I don't know, but they had to flip it, because it says from the sea to the river, but
from the river to the sea.
From the sea to the river, we will make them quiver. It just doesn't roll off.
That's just what they have now at these protests in college. Like, from river to the sea. From sea to shining Deju Sea.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. From sea to river means all of it. That's why he says all of Palestine. That means there's no place for Jews.
No.
That's what he's saying.
Annihilation. It's in their charter.
I hope I've crystallized it for you.
Before they even set up the way to manage the country, literally right off the top, it's like, hey, are you going to put to like president, vice president? No. Kill Jews first. Yeah. It's like, what? Hold on, but you haven't done anything, Hamas.
Well, it's this radical new strategy. It's called Jew death therapy, Bob.
They have a very interesting way of speaking.
Yeah, like terrorists.
Yes, like terrorists. Where you think that they're going one way and they're not. They totally zag you at the end because he goes, Israel will exist until we destroy them. You will be a virgin until I rape you.
Yes, exactly.
Relax.
Kind of buried the lead there, Hamas.
The Jews are perfectly safe until I tie my shoe. Doldan! Oli oxen dead! So there you go. Hamas was moderate. The guy he quotes clearly says he wants to eradicate all Jews. We just gave you some more examples. No, I don't. And I also, by the way, not one dead American soldier, just to be
correct.
Clear. I think that, but morally, Israel has to wipe out Hamas. And we're going to get to the stupid ceasefire bullshit, pardon my language. But this is just, the people from intelligentsia, this is why they get their dick tied in a pretzel, because they cannot. This is how you end up with gays for Palestine, and you end up with people like John Oliver, who claim to be against hate speech. So they find it more of an affront to the sensibilities that a man in New York stopping the assault of a woman with his firearm by shooting it into the air, that's more offensive to them than a government who, in their very charter, 88, and then reiterated in 2006, all the way up until and including today, every single day wants the eradication or obliteration of all Jews. It's not a tenable position. And they say, well, these are the people, the intellectuals, the Noam Chomskys of the world. Yeah. This is what they believe. It's because they're just chasing some way to virtue signal and sound smarter than you rather than teach you, and they end up with a position that is entirely inconsistent. There is no way to be a modern liberal and hold these positions that they do as a matter of policy. Not at all. At least I respect, for example, Hamas that they're consistent. Like, they're not like, on the one hand, I hate Jews, but on the other hand, I want to kill all of them. You're like, well, those two go together. I think you're wrong.
That's great news.
Yeah, but the left is like, on the one hand, I believe that girls who are 6 years old should be able to go through gender transition. On the other hand, I think that Hamas has it mostly right. So let's go through another claim from John Oliver. And this is the selective editing, what they choose to not cover, just like the racial crimes earlier, where he makes the claim that Israel is deliberately targeting civilians.
In just the first 6 days of the war, it dropped 6,000 bombs on a strip of land just 25 miles long and at most 7 miles wide. That is nearly as many as the record number that the US dropped on Afghanistan in a single year. As of this taping, more than 11,000 people had been killed, including at least 4,000 children.
Hamas numbers.
All Palestinians in Gaza did support Hamas, which they do not. The relentless bombings of civilians there would still be abhorrent. Collective punishment is a war crime.
Okay, so here's the truth, all right? Now, that number he's quoting, Hamas numbers, just to be clear. The Palestinian Authority, those numbers that's propaganda. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of people haven't been killed, but the numbers he is citing are from Hamas, while he's saying that the Israelis, right, the IDF, are dishonest and that they are targeting civilians.
Same Hamas has said a hospital was bombed, and it turned out that the parking lot and some cars got fricasseed.
Yes, exactly.
Not 500 or 600 people killed. And,
anyone who is citing those numbers, by the way, 10,000, 11,000 people killed, 4,000 children, they are citing Hamas as their reference, which I would just say is slightly... I would say that Hamas as a reference is biased, if not slightly questionable.
A little bit.
That's just my opinion, man. So Hamas also, if we were to say, okay, 10,000 people killed, 11,000, whatever they try and claim now. Well, hold on a second. Let's just say the number is higher than the 1,200 innocent Jews who were killed on October 7th. By the way, notice Israel revises their numbers. They had it at 1,400. They revised it to lower. You will never see that from Hamas. But let's say the number is higher. Okay. But do I care if those people are bloodthirsty terrorists? That matters.
Right.
Now, what also matters is even if the civilian death toll, let's say, is higher for the people of Gaza than in Israel, well, could that be because Hamas intentionally hides behind civilians without fail? It is a matter of strategy for them. Places like hospitals, places like refugee camps, places like schools. And before you say this is Jewish propaganda, don't worry, I have some third-party sources. This is just right on the ground. You see some bombs, weapons in a kindergarten.
It's a good place to have them. You teach the kids how to use them. That's what they do.
That's like metal shop. It's different.
נמצאו שני לבנות חבלה גדולות מאוד, מטען חלול שמוצמד לטנק, וכן שני שקים של תחמושת, כל אחד 15-20 קילו של קלאץ'.
Yeah, it's take your daddy terrorist asshole to school day. Before you say Jewish propaganda, in 2014, Al Jazeera reported that Hamas had built a tunnel network under the Jabalia refugee camp. Okay, yeah, that's overlay 12 there, Matt. You can bring that up. Gaza's internal tunnel network is reportedly even more complex than cross-border routes and involves multiple branches that run under refugee camps in Khan Yunis, Jabalia, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, all other densely populated areas. These hide weaponry and are designed for Hamas leadership to remain protected and mobile. And here's the thing. So you have that Jewish soldier showing it to you right there, or someone who you would just say is a propagandist, or rat to people who support Hamas. Now you have Al Jazeera, who of course would rather portray the Palestinian people in Hamas in a more favorable light, certainly compared to the IDF. But let's go straight to the horse's mouth. Hamas themselves have even admitted and taken credit for these tactics in interviews.
وهذا سؤال رائج وشائع يعني من قام بتشييد 500 كيلومتر من الأنفاق لماذا لم يشيد مآوي يلجأ إليها المدنيون خلال القصف؟
نحن شيدنا الأنفاق لأنه لا نملك ما ندفع به عن أنفسنا من القتل والاستهداف. هذه الأنفاق من أجل أن نحمي أنفسنا من الطائرات، نحمي مقاتلين من الأنفاق. أما القطاع غزة فأنت تعلم والجميع يعلم بأنه 75% منه لاجئين، واللاجئين هو مسؤولية الأمم المتحدة في حمايتهم.
See that last part? He says, yes, we have tunnels because we are avoiding, for people listening on audio, because we're trying to avoid the airplanes who are trying to kill us. Now it's confirmed through Al Jazeera and other sources that these tunnels go under schools. These tunnels go under refugee camps. And he says, well, everyone knows that Gaza's 75% refugees. It's not our job to protect them with our tunnels. It's the UN's job.
Yes, it's the United Nations' job to come in and protect these people. And I just want to be clear. We're talking about the same places that Israel has had gone through great lengths to make sure that all the civilians can flee these areas before bombing. They dropped leaflets. They did everything that they could short of smoke signals to let you know, hey, tomorrow at 5, we're bombing this place because Hamas uses it and they have tunnels underground. Get out of here. And then Hamas doesn't let people leave.
This is just... The IDF is actually escorting them out, too.
Yes. And a lot of, there's video of that. Video of tanks, of Israeli tanks escorting people in Palestine out of these areas. At a Gaza Strip, out of these areas, you can't make the argument anymore.
Right, and even if you say, "Oh, I hate Israel," okay, but John Oliver is a liar. Let's just be clear about that. I'm not going to say he's being misleading. John Oliver is a liar with this segment. John Oliver knows that he's using Hamas's numbers. John Oliver knows that Hamas uses people as human shields. He knows that. He knows that, and he's saying the opposite. So let's go to another claim from our favorite immigrant who makes his bank here in the United States. Says that Israel was already destroying Gaza, and this is just asinine, before this current conflict.
Palestinians have been on the receiving end of that extremism twice over, subject to the inadequacies and cruelties of a Hamas government and the punishing isolation and daily misery of an Israeli one, because Israel's approach to Gaza has been truly punishing, fencing people in, limiting exits, and trapping them inside of what has been called an open-air prison by many human rights organisations. Life under a blockade there has been hard for a long time, even when there aren't bombs flying.
But by the way, he says their response has been punishing. As opposed to when 1,200 innocent people are tortured, kidnapped, and killed, your response should not be punishing?
Yeah.
I mean, let's not lose scope of this for a second. Like, it should be punishment. By the way, I even address this when we talk about prisons here in the United States. I think rehabilitation matters. I think punishment should still be a part of the equation. I still think that prison should be uncomfortable. It shouldn't be like a Swedish prison where it's an IKEA display.
Yeah.
With a PS5.
Yeah. No, they actually do.
I know.
And in Gitmo. I remember back then they had the new, I think it was the Xbox 360.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I visited them, and then I wasn't able to show all the footage. So here's the truth.
You can play Modern Warfare as Americans.
Exactly.
They get to be on the good side for once.
Why would I want to play myself?
It's always
called acting. I want to expand my range.
God, come here. I have to pee on you.
Yes.
Ew.
He sets a timer.
Guard, get over here.
Oh, the guard. Time for a cocktail. So the truth is that Israel instituted the blockade to stop weapons from coming in, right? They've seized weapons, IEDs, RPGs. Let's also be clear, the blockade has been upheld by who? Egypt. Let me read you a quote.
I thought you were going to say Mike Jones.
Keeping Hamas out of the Sinai Peninsula has been an imperative for the Egyptian government since at least 2007. Let me give you another truth here. As John Oliver tries to paint this as this ragtag group of misfits, Gaza gets tons of foreign aid, help, largely money. Funding to Gaza over the last decade, UN $4.5 billion. Qatar, where Clockboy decided to go for a while, $1.3 billion. Egypt, $500 million. Germany, $80 million. The United States, since 2021 alone, $400 million. That's the amount of money that has been sent to Gaza over the last decade. Also, Israel has granted over 18,000 work permits to Gazans to work in Israel. And I'm not saying it's perfect, just to be clear. I understand there's no easy way out of this if there are people there who are ruled by Hamas who constantly bombard them with propaganda while they also abuse their own citizens. But you tell me if this looks exactly like an open-air prison as the leftist humanitarian organizations want you to believe.
It's like a recent work.
Like Club Med with terrorists.
Yeah. Awesome quick trip.
I thought there's no way that this was true.
It's a prison.
Well, it is now.
I'm sure we're seeing the nicer parts.
I'm sure we're seeing the nicer parts of Gaza. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it actually is like sandals, but
No, we don't.
Flip-flops.
We don't put tourism commercials with pictures of Detroit.
Right. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, they do in Michigan, pure Michigan.
Oh,
they
do
tell
they?
people, they actually did tell people to go visit Detroit. And then there was just an epidemic of hipster rapings in Detroit. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Sick.
It did. Job well done.
Good job, Michigan.
The point is, you can't only present one side here. It's an open-air prison. Let's also be clear about the fact that Israel they withdrew.
Yeah.
From
Before Hamas's fair election.
Yes.
Well, this
in
is
06.
my point. John Oliver makes the point, and I'm not quote. It's kind of a loose quote. Most people don't support Hamas, right? Or not all Palestinians support. Okay, uprising. Because Hamas is controlling you. And apparently they're doing such a bang-up job that you guys are living in an open-air prison. Even all the money that you get over the last decade or so, it doesn't really go to you. You guys don't have all the basic necessities right now. You don't have any food, water, electricity. Your hospitals are crumbling right now. And they won't let you flee because they need you as a human shield. What does it take for an uprising to come? If Hamas does not represent you, make it apparent that that is true and take them out. Very simple.
We don't have the necessities now because the Jews are not providing it for us anymore. The Jews decided that they weren't going to give us water or dates. I was ordering from Jumazon every day. Now nothing. Nothing. No Juba. Alibaba will deliver here. Jumazon says account not active. It's active.
Oh, my Jumazon.
Oh my goodness, YouTube. Seriously? All the time.
Yes. And how many Jackie Mason jokes do you need? We get it. Since when is it your job to supply your opponents with water?
Since when is it your job to take care of your people? Apparently never for Hamas. That's the UN's responsibility.
That's the UN's responsibility. That's their job.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, armed revolt. There you go. Guess what? You want the world to rally around you and for this to end tomorrow? Overthrow Hamas. Fatah, you're the party out there, I guess, that's the most likely in the opposition. Mm-hmm. Everybody take up arms right now and go take out Hamas in whatever way seems necessary in y'all's justice system over there, and the rest of the world will come marching in and peace will be known in your land.
Well, all those college students in the squad would be left with far too much egg on their face.
That's true.
From the river to there's peace. Oh, boy.
I would absolutely love to proudly hold up a Palestinian flag like you guys did it. You guys beat Hamas. You guys beat your oppressors.
Right.
You have your own state. Now ask Israel for a little help. I'm sure they'll give it to you.
Yeah, except 57% of them are like, I kind of like Hamas.
They are still Jews.
You know, they are still, look, Jews, people who kill Jews. It's about the 57% people who kill Jews. So not all of them, but it's enough. And that's the real reason the problem can't be solved. Here's another claim from John Oliver, and it's always fun when it comes to this. It's actually all America's fault.
It's worth noting that there is one more major player in all of this that I haven't mentioned yet, and it's us. And I don't just mean the British, who are absolutely responsible for some of this. I'm talking about America, because this country has emphatically picked a side. In recent years, we've given Israel $3.8 billion a year in military aid. And you can make geopolitical arguments for why that is or isn't a valid thing to do, but it means we're heavily implicated in everything you've just seen.
Yeah, it pales in comparison to the billions that we give to Iran, Palestine themselves. If you go to Libya, Jordan, Egypt, all these other nations who are not friendly to the Jews. So that's a first.
We give over $4 billion a year to some of these countries that hate them. That doesn't even include Iran with $1 billion or so that
$1.6 billion
Obama did, or the $6 billion you're given that is now refrozen.
Yeah, Mission Control. I'm sure you guys could total that up. I'm going by rote here.
Yeah.
But this is also, this goes to, there's another claim that he makes here, right? Is this, did we already, clip America's fault, I guess.
Just listen to Bassem Aramin, a Palestinian whose 10-year-old daughter was killed by an Israeli border guard in 2007.
My daughter have been killed with American rubber bullet, unfortunately, from an American M16, unfortunately, from an American Jeep, American uniform, and the soldier have trained in America. So everything is American.
Right. Everything is American. And I know that is hard to hear. But the fact is, made in America is something that we understandably love to brag about when it's slapped on things that we're proud of. But unfortunately, it's not just tractors, truck nuts, and Toby Keith songs. Sometimes it's stuff that's killing people.
Here's the truth. It's Hamas's fault.
Oh,
let's just be clear about this. So let's walk through October 7th. Hamas brutally murdered 1,200 Israelis. Notice they counted down. It went up to 1,400.
Yep.
And then the Israeli government said, actually, now it's 1,200.
Sorry, we overinflated it.
Yep. Whereas Hamas goes,
yeah.
Did we say 8,000? We meant 80. Now do you hate the Jews?
This is very true.
I heard Gaza's almost out of children, by the way.
Yeah, you would think.
Well, half
what
of
they're
the
saying.
population is children. That's
right. Yes, half of their population is children.
How's that possible?
They've killed the adults.
Well, we're not exactly overflowing with Trojans here, okay? This is not Magnum country. I look at them wrong, they get pregnant. Plus, I have like 75 of them. It's disgusting.
Having kids is easy when you can do it with your sister.
That's right. It was the boning of Soraya M, is what they...
I'm not wrong.
They're wrong. Take it up with them. Take it up with Hamas. So, America does provide aid to Israel because it is neighbored by every single...
countries.
Well, they all want to destroy it.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's a map of Israel in the Arab world. Just to be clear, since its inception in 1948, Israel has been at... And I know some of you are saying, well, they should have never been allowed there. Okay, fine. They've been at war with Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran by proxy. You do have to, even if you just think that the Jews are wrong and you hate them more than all these other countries, but even though it's the only place that has any type of basic human rights, you still do have to acknowledge that they might be a little more on edge because they're surrounded by people who want to eradicate them. Just to be clear, can we at least understand that, why they might be a little bit defensive? Also, this is one thing that I think is pretty important for people to note. And you'll hear people talk about the radical Jews who want to bring about the end times, right? And they want certain areas and temples, for example, to be clear. There's not a lot of proselytizing from the Jewish people, to be clear, globally. Like, that's kind of a Christian thing. And then, I don't know if it's proselytizing so much as terrorizing from Islam. But the point is... Christians want more Christians. I mean, you even have Mormons, right? They all go on mission trips. You have Jehovah's Witnesses who annoy you at your door. And then you have Muslims who, you convert or you die. But Jews, they're not necessarily looking to invite more people into the club. Even if you were to go through their end time beliefs, they believe there will be Jews and there will be Gentiles, right? They don't have to eradicate all the Gentiles. Muslims do believe in a caliphate where they have to wage a jihad and, in a perfect world, convert every single person to Islam at the tip of a sword. That's a part of it. So there is a big difference where Jews, if you don't like them because they kind of just want to be left to themselves, That is historically, they kind of just want to have their own space. They're not looking to go out into Iran and turn them into Jews. But if you do look at the Islamic world, they are constantly encroaching on territory that they do not see as meeting their Puritan test of true Islam. Yeah. And that's because of fundamental differences in the faith, even though we say they're all Abrahamic religions. Okay, just stop. All right, let's go to another claim. Sorry, did you want me to?
No, we're good. Yeah.
All right. I know we're going late today. We have Pokemon or hate symbol on Love Club.
Oh, Lord. No. Keep going then.
Claim number 6. Of course, he comes out and makes the lazy argument that people have used since John Lennon and something, give peace a chance, ceasefire.
I don't have a solution for peace in the Middle East. And even if I did, which again,
shocking,
I don't,
yeah.
This really would be the worst voice in which to relay that message.
Hey, he's right.
It does seem to me personally that a ceasefire has to be the first step.
Yeah, okay. You don't get to have a ceasefire with a terrorist group. And by the way, there are other times that ceasefires have been broken by Hamas when Israel said, "Okay, ceasefire." So let's go to August 2014. Before we get to October 7th, August 2014, 3-day ceasefire was broken by Hamas in 2 hours.
Yeah. So here's 72 hours. They thought you said 2.
Yeah.
So
it was supposed to be a 3-day ceasefire. Like, look, let's go 3 days. Baby steps, not killing Jews.
Right.
And then let's see if we can build some momentum with this. They were like, okay. And after 2 hours, like, I had my fingers crossed. December.
The hate was just boiling inside of me. I couldn't
help it.
2 hours was a long time, bro.
I had to get it out.
December 2008, Hamas started launching rockets into Israel during a ceasefire period in response to Israel destroying a Hamas tunnel, which they just admitted was a Hamas tunnel, not the people, a Hamas tunnel.
Not a Gazan tunnel.
Look, calling... This is very, very lazy. And I did a video a long time ago on the peace symbol and John Lennon and give peace a chance. Peace is a two-way street, period, or you have to blockade the road. If you're driving down a freeway, a two-lane road, and there's an oncoming truck, and you don't want to hit him, you don't want a head-on collision, but he does, guess what? There's going to be a head-on collision. You only miss each other through an agreement where you both don't want to die. Peace cannot exist with a terrorist group. People who say, ceasefire, when will the violence stop? Hold on a second. You're saying nothing. This is goofy, silly, dumb shit talk. It makes no sense. You're dealing with terrorists who want to eradicate an entire ethnicity, religion, however you want to, culture of people. Calling for a ceasefire when civilians were raped, murdered, kidnapped by terrorists is supporting terrorism.
Hey, ceasefire, everyone calm down. Hey, ceasefire, calm down, guys.
And we're going to keep doing that until people like John Oliver stop saying such stupid things. You guys can comment below. I know you're thinking, like, do we need another ceasefire sketch? We have a lot of revenge films in the hopper right now.
We do. Yeah. The list is
There's more to come.
By the way, you know what you need to do? We're going to have a meeting. And until that meeting where we can talk about whether we're going to have a ceasefire or not, we're going to continue kicking your butt. You guys want to talk? Fine. But these bombs, they're a-dropping. I got targets laid out for days. If you want to talk about a ceasefire, we can, but after we've come to some sort of agreement. Not, we'll pause and let you guys regroup, and the ceasefire just didn't work, and we couldn't come to terms after 3 days, and now you guys are ready to attack us again. I'm sorry, that's what they do. That's their MO.
Well, I know, and we've covered that. Right now I want to cover that John Oliver is a liar. So we all know that Hamas is a liar, but the fact that John Oliver in Western media is being an apologist for them, he tries to pretend as though he's going to be objective, but he's nothing more than a propagandist. The problem is he's a propagandist for an actual terrorist organization. In obfuscating the real information and obfuscating the information that people would actually want to know if they were trying to, at the very least, create their own educated or come to an educated conclusion, they would be incapable of doing that if they believed John Oliver. Not only because he uses Hamas's numbers as it relates to death tolls, not only because he completely denies the historical full context of Israel and Hamas, not only because he misrepresents how many people in Gaza feel as though they are accurately represented by Hamas, not only because he misrepresents the fact that Hamas uses those people as human shields, not only because he misrepresents the fact that Israel has actually helped the people of Palestine in multiple instances, or the fact that Israel has honored ceasefires, which Hamas has broken. If you were to watch John Oliver and rah in the comments section, and I see those people in the comments section, maybe we'll go and leave a couple of comments because, hey, you know what? You can swarm our channel. I don't care. If nothing else, you've got to remember that he devoted 6 minutes to criticizing Hamas, who, by his own admission, kind of has the extermination of Jews in their charter, and 20 going after Israel. Hey, guess how we know you're a propagandist? But people think that it's somehow highbrow because he has an English accent and he puts up Salon or Slate as a source. By the way, it doesn't offend me as a host of a show. I think it offends us as comedians.
What is Salon? Like a place where you get your hair done?
You would think so, but it's also...
That's where he's getting his news?
It's a website for feminists and people who hate themselves.
Gay.
Interesting. Okay.
So you guys can, you know what? Go ahead. Comment below. Let John Oliver know what you think. Hopefully this was fair. You can go and I encourage you to watch his entire video in its full context.
Has he talked about the UK and their the lack of freedom of speech yet?
Oh, no, he absolutely has not. No, he's talked about the myth of cancel culture where it's just people complaining about stuff when it's actually accountability. And when people talk about a neutered comedian, they're talking about John Oliver. This is a guy who everything he says is safe, and he does target people. It's just safe to target conservatives, to target Christians, and to target like Fox News as though at this point they're even a worthy adversary. So if you are watching right now on YouTube, I don't know why you are. If you're watching on Rumble, you get to continue watching. We actually have our exclusive, we're bringing back, it was banned on YouTube, the old Death Wish parody that we did a long time ago. It was Death Wish 14, I believe, the transition. We can't run that on YouTube.
No, there's no sex.
And we are going to play Pokemon or racial slur. Watching on Rumble, click that button. None of this happens without you, without Mug Club, and certainly none of the investigative journalism. YouTube piss off.